And this is to discuss the articles for a special town meeting.
And this is being
This is being
recorded.
recorded by Area 58 Studios.
That's what else. This is a study.
Okay. Any questions on the first article?
So just, the article is based on the language that the Massachusetts School Building Authority has said we should be using for articles for this purpose. We had an earlier version done that I had sent to bond council that got approved. I've sent this now to bond council again, saying I have a few more days. It should be fine. I'm sure they've seen this language before, but this covers the whole shebang.
All the repairs and everything that we would like to see done?
Yes,
Okay. But they're not all reimbursable?
correct. So that I've listed the roof, windows, doors, siding, trees, fire suppression system, security system, all the incidental expenses. And down, if you notice down the second half of the paragraph, town acknowledges the MSBA's grant program is non-entitlement discretionary based on need. So that covers the idea that they will, one hopes, provide grants to us for this, but not necessarily covering the whole cost or for all elements also. So we know from talking with our project manager and the architect that while the roof, windows, and doors are going to be reimbursable, the siding, trees, fire suppression system, and security system will not. And we'll have to, the budget will be based on that fact, and when and if we ever go out and borrow the money, that will be the case also.
Okay.
Can we talk a little bit about the forums?
Sure.
The informational meetings, I'm sorry, and how we want to get the word out ahead of time so that enough
You want to
people-
vote on this first, and
sure.
then we can
Yeah, that's
discuss
fine.
that?
I'll make a motion that we include article, I have to open the warrant, right?
Well, technically, I guess we should be opening the
Yeah,
warrant,
so I'll
yes.
make a motion that we open the warrant for the special town meeting for, is it March 2nd? Did we change
Yes.
the date, Charlie?
Yeah, the reason, by the way, I'm sorry, I haven't caught everybody up. John Bruno wasn't going to be available on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of that week, the 27th, the 28th, or the 1st. So, but he is available the 2nd, the school's available the 2nd, I checked with Larry Mayo, he's available the 2nd, so I'm pushing the date to then. I thought it was unfair to drop this on Barbara
Right.
Gaynor again. If it was a quick, we have to get this done, one piece article, it'd be different giving it to Barbara, but I know she's uncomfortable being moderator for the meeting, so.
Okay, I will make a motion to open the warrant for special town meeting on March 2nd at 7:30, 2017.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Right.
I'll make a motion that we include Article 1 to see if the town will vote to appropriate and borrow the transfer of funds of $7.95 million for the repair of the roof.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Pam, Kim,
Yes, articles.
you guys look alike.
No, stop. Were you looking for me for Article 2? Are we going to talk about Article 2?
Well, you want to talk about Article 1.
Oh, I
didn't
want
you?
to talk about
The
Article 1, okay.
presentation.
So I think we had our meeting with the architect the other day, and I think it's going to be key to get as many residents aware and willing to come to the informational meetings as we can. We talked briefly about putting it in the news and notices for the week, and also perhaps, Charlie, putting it on Halifax Locals to let residents know that these forums are this informational meeting is coming up, so that, because it seems like it's pretty quick, like normally we would
Yes.
have months.
What day are we talking about having it, since we're on that?
The
That's-
informational meeting will be on
February
February
15th, I think we ended up
Yes.
with.
At 6 o'clock?
at
7
7
o'clock.
o'clock at the,
Great,
up,
in the multi-purpose room.
right, at the elementary school.
Just want to make sure you get all the information in there.
And then perhaps I know you'll do this, but that we include in why it's so rushed, that, that there's a reimbursement, we're on the fast track, and that, because I think that's going
It's
to be.
really not rushed,
an
we've been
issue.
working on this now for.
No, but that it's a fast track, like I think it's
Okay.
going to
Well,
come to a
the-
surprise, and we just found out the price, so we couldn't have gone.
Well, and the other major factor simply is if we could do this project later, in the sense that we could do all this later, but the reason we need to get this done in terms of a vote at town meeting and a vote at the town election is to have this roof work done this summer. We need enough time in order to
Put out
get the
the bids.
construction documents, go out to bid, award the bids, get all the work scheduled, and that, it takes a finite amount of time. We can't do it within a couple of weeks. So waiting until, for instance, until May, sure, we could have brought this in May and had a vote in May, but that would not have allowed us enough time to be able to get the work done this summer. And
And
when-
as it is, not all the work's getting done
Correct.
this summer.
But
Some
the-
of it's gonna have
yes.
to wait till later, but we need to get it going now to be able to get it done at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Article 2.
Article 2 is, go ahead, Charlie, do you want-
Well, we've considered, when we had the issues regarding the permitting for Mudfest, I think there was a consensus among the board that a change in the zoning would be preferable to anything else, in the sense of allowing the town to make a decision whether or not to allow live entertainment outdoor events in the agricultural residential district. And it would be via a special permit with the board of selectmen, not the ZBA, not to criticize the ZBA any for that, but in the sense that the board is already issuing the live entertainment permit, the separate general permit, and that this way, the criteria for issuing the special permit under zoning and the live entertainment permit under the board of selectmen's authority would be combined. And so there'd be only one going through the hearing and dealing with stipulations and everything like that. Right now, the view is that the commercial indoor and outdoor amusements, et cetera, are not allowed in the agricultural residential zone. There's an end there in the zoning on the list of uses. What the board is proposing is to change that to SP, meaning special permit. That would be the same as the SP allowed in the industrial zone or in the conservancy. It would still not be allowed in industrial 2. It's right now allowed by right in business district and still would be allowed by right in the business district. The actual use of the property would require if there's a building associated with any of this, it still would have to be 100 feet from a residential district. What the building inspector noted is there was another section, 16712, along with the list of uses, that mentioned this fact that right now, all the entertainment uses have to be at least 100 feet from a residential district. We need to get that changed too, but I also made the change to say the building, if there's a building associated with it, needs to be at least 100 feet away from the residential district. This way that, as an example for Mudfest, which does not involve a building, or let's say for some reason someone wanted to put on a big concert, those things could exist in the residential district as long as they were at least 100 feet away, as long as there's no building involved, and we're doing it that way. We originally had a petition article that was set up for the May town meeting that had the necessary signatures, but as I just mentioned, the building inspector pointed out that this other change needed to occur also. And so what I'm asking is, as much as I know the board of selectmen was more interested in having a petition article, that the board put this article on its own onto the warrant. One reason is, as I mentioned, the change, but the second is that waiting until May to make this change messes up the timetable connected to Mudfest. Mudfest has traditionally been happening in June. If the town meeting votes this in May, it will take maybe, let's say, a month for the AG's office to approve the change in the zoning bylaw, which means that we're running right into Mudfest about that time. There's no time, therefore, for the board to issue a special permit or anything like that, and we deal with the same controversy that we dealt with last year. By voting this in February, and one hopes having the AG's or in March, to actually the 2nd, and having the AG's office, let's say at the end of March, early April, approving the change in the bylaw, that future Mudfest would come to the board, and we'd have time between the approval by the AG's office and the scheduled date for Mudfest for the board to go through the special permitting process. So I'm asking, despite the fact we have a petition article available for the annual, that the board on its own propose this article for the special.
Would you please make sure that Mr. Kasaya is aware that we're putting it on, because I know that he probably is going to make his own presentation.
Yes.
I think it's a fine idea.
I see no objections
Just
to
put
it.
it out there and see how the town meeting feels.
Yeah, as long as it still runs in line pretty close to what the signature petition article was asking for. We're being preemptive and going forward on this.
This is actually helping.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right, I will make a motion that we include Article 2 to see if we will amend Chapter 167-7 for the use regulation for
Second.
for public.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Articles 3 and 4 are combo or package. This is the Board of Assessors request, though, and I can change it, I guess, to the Board of Assessors as opposed to the Board of Selectmen. The Nazarella, and this is the different property, not the Hemlock Lane, but off of Summit Street. There's a proposal for a solar farm there, smaller in scope, I think in scope than the one we have over in Plimpton and Halifax at the town line there. But we have to go through the pilot procedure of negotiating what's called a payment in lieu of taxes. And there are 2 steps in that process. One is that the town has to approve allowing for negotiations of the pilot. The second is then approval of the resulting contract. We had talked with town council about this during the last number of months, and he feels comfortable the town meeting can handle both subjects at the same meeting, so that Article 3 would be done before Article 4. I'll bring that up with John Bruno when we get there, is that Article 3 would first give authorization to the Selectmen and to the Board of Assessors to negotiate a pilot. And then we get to Article 4, we have there's a contract that could be agreed to by both parties, and that could be brought to town meeting for approval then through Article 4. So I will change the proposed by to the assessors, but also request that the board approve placing Articles 3 and 4 on the town meeting
Yeah,
warrant.
and you got the Board of Selectmen on February 28, 2017.
Yes.
You gotta change that.
No, I do not.
Wanna change
What-
that?
The contract will be brought to the board at its regular meeting on the 28th,
Okay.
and then brought to town meeting for approval on the 2nd.
So would you like me to make a motion?
Sure.
I'll make a motion that we include Article 3 and 4.
You do it so well, come on.
Of the pilot, solar energy pilot program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 5 came up, we've had obviously substantial discussions concerning the possible land sale by Silver Lake of a parcel of land in Kingston to the town of Kingston for its police station. The Silver Lake was able to get special legislation approved by the state legislature and signed by the governor, which included an amendment that set up a public hearing, but it would be in Kingston sometime in March. What I'm suggesting is that the town have its own discussion, in essence have its own vote, which is what we wanted in the first place. It's not a binding vote, obviously, but at town meeting, we could be put on the record as to whether the town recommends, in fact, approval of the sale of the land from Silver Lake to Kingston. This would also enable who's ever going to the hearing in terms of town officials to go to that hearing and say, we've had that substantial discussion at town meeting, we've had allowed the townspeople to speak on this issue, and here's how they felt. This is what they told us to bring to you. Doesn't prevent anybody else from going to the hearing, so if Jane or Joe Citizen wants to go to the hearing and give their voice about the possible land sale, they'll be able to do so. But this gives it in a much more organized fashion and also allows people not, if they don't want to have to go to Kingston for this hearing, they'll have a chance to voice how they feel about it here in Halifax.
Yeah, the one issue that still stands forward in my mind is what do they plan on doing with the monies once they receive it? Whether it's gonna benefit the towns or just benefit Silver Lake and what they're gonna use it for.
Well, I think that if they use it for capital improvements, which is I think what they plan on doing, it does benefit the town because it's less money we'd have to come up with separately in order to do those capital improvements. So whatever capital improvements they do at Silver Lake, I think indirectly does help.
Yeah, but they haven't voiced that, at least not in any meetings that I've been
I know
to.
that, but I haven't been at a meeting that they've talked about this for a number of months, but I think that was the intention back then, but I don't know. if that changed.
What I remember, and I could
Yeah.
easily be wrong, is that I think what they said was that the money was going to be sent back to the 3 communities.
Okay.
Kingston, and somehow that Kingston would somehow say, thank you, but we're not going to cash this
Yes.
check here, you
They
have
were
it
gonna-
back.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
that the checks would
Yeah,
still
that's
go
what I
to
remember.
Plimpton.
They were
Now,
giving away the-
whether the checks would go back in the sense of we'd get a literal or a electronic check for that amount, or would it be a decrease in our assessment in that year, I don't know, but
Well,
somehow
I
the
just
money.
think it's important that the townspeople know all facets of what's gonna be happening with this, because selling them the land is one thing. You know, what they're gonna do with the proceeds from it, I think make a difference to the town.
It goes even further for me, because I'm not even sure I'm happy with what they're proposing to sell it for. I have issues with the sale price, in addition to other things. I'm reading the language, and I'm almost trying to figure out if we should change the language and say to vote for or against. Because it looks like we're looking for support as opposed to a
Right.
consensus.
Well, yeah, and I needed to, I didn't want to get into confusing, I'm happy to take any language.
Yeah, no, that's why I
What
was
did-
struggling.
Yeah, I didn't want it to, let's say, if the board for whatever reason felt that they oppose this, in the sense of not the article so much as the sale, to see, we'd have a confusion at town meeting. Okay, if I'm voting for this, does that mean I'm against the land sale? And if I'm voting against it, does that mean I'm for the land sale? Whereas if I'm saying but I could be less explicit in the language and say, as Thomas mentioned, that to direct, request the Board of Selectmen notify the committee how the town of Halifax feels about this, or something like that.
I
Whether the
think
town
I'd
of
like something
Halifax
with-
recommends or does not recommend.
Yeah, that would be
Yes.
more preferable for
Okay.
me. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but.
Use both hands.
I'm not sure I'm for the article. And I'm fine if it's on, but I think that the argument's going to be, well, how do the people make an informed decision when they haven't been part of a public
process,
informational
yes.
meeting? And I also feel that as much as I don't like the process, as much as, their own council recommended that the vote be of the 3 towns, and they decided to make the legislation not including the vote of the people, that went through the proper legislative actions and was signed by the governor. And so I feel like the decisions is made, our people don't have a voice, and so I feel uncomfortable telling them that they do without, I don't know.
False hope.
And I
No, I understand.
when this isn't non-binding, as Charlie said, and what does that do for the relationship? Even though I know I'm still trying
What is
on
the
a relationship with the Silver Lake, I just feel like, we're just fighting again.
On the,
Still.
on the first question, I would certainly invite the Silver Lake School Committee to attend this meeting, and they can present why they feel the land sale is a good thing, or any other information. There'll be, it's up to them then to participate. It's their opportunity to come to Halifax and answer those questions that the townspeople have.
Yeah, the people that benefit more than anybody else is the town of Kingston, because they buy a piece of land that might be worth more than what they're paying for.
Well, I think that may be the case, and I'm not blaming them for, I'm questioning the deal, if you will.
Right. So the question is, do we want it to go on as an article or not? Some valid points have been made for both sides of it, but
What do you think, Troy?
I tend to agree with you, because it gives false hope. People discussing it and say whether or not they want to sell it or not. We have no authority and no power to stop it, the proceeds.
And I think that we've done a valiant try, in trying to reason about, Charlie wrote you the letter, saying,
To the legislature, to the governor, and
right, and we were overturned. I mean, they certainly had a piece of legislation that they were well, as Tom even said when he was here, and it sort of surprised me when I watched the school committee meeting, because when he was here, he did say, hey, I just put on what they asked me to. you know, but if you heard him on the box during the school committee meeting.
He was for it.
Yeah, it was a totally different tone than what I was used to. And I know that our Silver Lake representatives were upset, but honestly, all three of those representatives voted in the way that we would want them to vote. They voted not to put that legislation forward. So there's a lot going on here, Charlie, and I
Yeah.
get why you want that on there to say, so that we can maybe let the school committee know that, you know, this is how our townspeople feel. And I don't know if the end game would be that they would stop and think and go, well,
I don't
maybe
think so.
we should have done it, but it's just one town giving that. And again, our representatives had already voted in favor for the way that we would have wanted that. So I don't know at the end of the day if we're gonna get,
Valid points.
yeah, I mean. but
What
I
does it
get
really
wanting to do.
accomplish?
Yeah,
Other than,
Except for openness, that let the people know what we did do and what we didn't do, but that's the only thing.
I mean, you know, if that's
Well,
the thing, then that's fine. I
well,
mean,
the only other thing would be then, okay, let's say any of the three of you or myself attend the public hearing in March. What am I supposed to say? I have no idea until I've had this discussion with the townspeople, how the townspeople, maybe all of them will get up at a town meeting and say, I'm fine with this, I got no problems with this. Well, great. Then I can convey that message to Silver Lake, but if they feel otherwise, what, you know,
well, I guess this is probably terrible to even say out loud, but perhaps in my mind, I feel like their decision is already made, that if we go in and even say anything differently, that I wouldn't change my mind, but you're right. We should assume that their decision is going to be fluid in the sense of, regardless of what people say during that meeting, that they'll weigh it and perhaps even make a different decision.
The only thing that it does for us, I think, is that it gives, if in fact, if the townspeople, whichever way they go, a loud and clear message, this is how we feel about it. Any future endeavors like this is what we need to do.
I don't think it's a bad thing. You know, I agree. I'm a little angered about the whole process.
Calm down, Charlie Brown.
Yeah, and I'm getting old and
Crotchety.
ornery. You know,
Join the club.
the whole way it was handled, I'm a little upset at our legislators. Our state senator bailed
That's for
when
sure.
he had indicated he was going to work with us, and he wasn't there when we needed him. I'm somewhat dismayed at that. I don't think it's a bad thing to go in there with the pulse of the people.
All right.
But we have, in order to get an accurate pulse of the people, we have to inform them as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I'm assuming you're not going to move to put it on.
That's right.
I'll make a motion to include it with maybe some language adjustments, but
I'll second it reluctantly. All in favor? Right,
No,
clearly.
but I love you. I get it. I get
No,
it.
I
It's all
mean,
right, when the lights,
You're entitled to have
when the camera
it
goes
doesn't always
off,
have to be right.
Yeah, I know.
when the
I mean,
camera
I
goes
just-
off, when the camera goes off and there's
No,
nobody
I mean, I
watching.
could be totally wrong, but so, yeah,
yeah, I mean, I understand, Kim, I understand, I mean,
yeah.
obviously, given the tone that was presented concerning us
Yeah.
at the last Silver Lake meeting, I mean, this might just worsen the situation, but.
I don't think it can get worse.
Well,
But I think that you're right, you may have a lot of people out there that may want to have a voice.
Or at least express themselves,
Yeah.
whether it's a moot point or not. But
Yeah.
Okay, anything further to be taken up at this particular meeting?
Just so, nothing to do with this, I just wanted to, I did talk with Don Jacobs, he was in early this morning, that's the gentleman who was here. He's the person who's handling the compensation study for us, the classification study.
Oh, that was him.
Yeah, it was him. So we're moving this along as fast as we
Youngster.
can. We're going to have, all the employees who are involved in this, in the sense of all our wage and personnel people are going to be part of this, in the sense that they're not going to be left out there and wait for a study and suddenly, boom, here it is. They're going to be working, reviewing the job descriptions. They'll be talking with Don Jacobs about all this. We're going to have 2 sessions in a couple of weeks up in the Great Hall to introduce everybody to the classification plan, essentially how it works, how everything's going to be done. So anybody who wants to be participating in this is going to be department heads and employees. So And we're working towards, obviously, getting all this done in time for the town meeting.
And our job descriptions aren't on there because we don't have job descriptions.
I also want to mention a good job to Charlie for putting this together on short notice, and really, it was through his efforts that we were able to get
Kudos.
Thank you.
this taken care of.
Thanks. I don't know how the results are going to be. I don't mean that Don's work, I don't know what the result will be at town meeting, but I think this was the best option we had.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, you're back with us. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.